Good morning, friends. This is Laura with Potpourri of Life. Why the big grin? Is because I keep trying to do this video and it's just blooper city here today. So I have decided that I'm going to try to do this without stopping and or doing it in segments where it's because I'm blooping all the way. Now, I don't even think that's a word. So what I'm going to share with you today is I make my own cleansing wipes. And so today, to kind of offshoot, yesterday I made the deodorant. Today I'm going to do the cleansing wipes. Now, even though, and I wanted to point one thing out, today is January 1st. This might not show up until January 2nd. And you know what? In order to better handle my stress levels, I will no longer be trying to get videos up the day I record, because it takes a long time to edit and do different stuff, and even still I'm not an expert at it. I am just kind of like going with the flow, trying to share what I know. Okay, for those of you who didn't want to hear all that garbage, go to minute 1.05. Here I am. Okay, so what I'm making today is I'm going to be making some cleansing wipes. My containers are empty, both of them. I make two because when one's done and the other one gets half done, I kind of like to say, oh, I should go make some more, right? Obviously, that did not happen, and it doesn't always happen. I do not like purchasing the wipes at the store because of the different ingredients that are in them. You can still buy nice wipes that are safe for your children and yourself, but I have to watch what I put on my body, more so in the intimate area. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making my own. And the first thing that I need is a source for my wipes. These wipes, see it says do not flush. Do not flush these. These are from Medline. These are non-latex wipes that they use in the hospitals. They use them in pediatrics, and they're super, super soft. And that's why I bought them. So you can buy them in bulk, you can buy them in packages, you can check with your pharmacy, more so your smaller pharmacies, they have this kind of stuff. You can get it special ordered, but you can buy it in bulk online. That's what I do. So, but they are ultra soft, that's the name of them, ultra soft, and they're dry cleansing wipes. They come in a size of 10 by 13. Now, I don't make them 10 by 13. I end up having to cut them down, and I will show that in a little bit of how I do it. So we first need the wipes, a source to use. The next thing is to clean my utensils, the items that I'm going to be using, such as my rotary cutter, the board. I'm going to be using rubbing alcohol, but that's the only place I'll be using rubbing alcohol because I want my tools nice and clean. Then the other thing, the ingredients that are actually in this are baby oil. You can use olive oil, and the first time I made it, it was a number of years ago I made it, and my husband refused to use the wipes. I said, what's the problem? Well, if you think about it, what's the color that could come out of these ingredients? It's a yellowish, greenish color, and it looks, well, my husband was new to me doing a lot of herbal stuff because he was fine with me doing the teas. He was fine with me doing tinctures. And then I started doing body care, cleansing care and all that. And so I started out with these because I didn't want to use the wipes. Well, the light green was a little, it turned him off, let's just say, in order to use. So I said, okay, I can use, and I only made like a small batch just to see how they would work. So I didn't care if he used them, but he was still using the wipes that we had already purchased prior to that. So it was like no brainer, just we got to use them up anyway. So I decided I'm going to stick with baby oil. Nobody questions baby oil for some reason. An item that I put in, and it's not required. So if you're writing down what I put in here, you do not have to get it. This is vitamin E oil, 5,000 I use. You can use it or not. And I just use a few drops, not a lot. The other item that we're going to be using is witch hazel. You don't need to buy top grade. You don't need the food grade. I do have food grade on hand, but I have a bunch of these that I bought when I could get them inexpensively at Walmart. That doesn't happen very much anymore, so you have to kind of watch your pricing. So, but that was, and buy no name. You do not have to buy top name witch hazel, although sometimes it's cheaper. So watch your prices, but you need witch hazel. Another item I'm adding in here, because I like using it on some cosmetic things, is just like with the vitamin E, I'm going to be using a little bit of jojoba oil. Not required in these items. So the two items that are not necessary in these wipes are jojoba oil, and actually the right pronunciation is jojoba oil. But I say jojoba because when I'm talking to my husband, jojoba makes sense because it says jojoba, but actual punctuation is jojoba, and I shared that in another video before. Now this is pure Castile soap. Try to use one that has no oils in it, no scents in it. And if they do have scents, like I know Dr. Bronich has some that has different essential oils in it, like lavender, almond, a few like that. You can use those, and I've used them before. But I'm using the pure one that is, it says 18-in-1 hemp baby unscented pure Castile soap. And I prefer to use the unscented. Do you have to use the baby one? No, because I haven't used it. This is just one I've recently picked up. I liked the sale price, but I like the brand too. And there's a couple different brands that I like. This is one of my favorites. So you decide what Castile soap that you want to use, but do the unscented. The next thing you will need are some essential oils. And the essential oils I am using today will be frankincense, ylang, and I know I used it in the deodorant, those two, and then a few drops of tea tree. If you are making these for children, make them in smaller batches and don't use tea tree. Tea tree is great for a variety of reasons, but I don't put very much in because it can cause skin irritation. Because of these oils provide a nice carrier where it doesn't have the same effect. When I use tea tree in a bath, because other people that have Lyme disease and stuff said, you know, they put a little bit of that in and all, and I'm like, I tried it and I would get burn marks on my body. And I thought, you know, you put in 3 or 4 drops and it's like, okay, maybe it was too much for my body. And I mean, I would fill that tub right up. So I'm thinking, how could that happen? I was trying to eliminate, so I did trial and error, put 1 drop of this in, nothing else, and I ended up with some nasty burn marks. Now, a lot of people say tea tree oil is safe. It is if you're using carrier oils. Now, I have to say this, it's a disclaimer because I don't want you to put this in your cleansing wipes, use it on your kids, and they get a burn mark. So I want you to be very careful if you use this, preferably not in the wipes that you make for your children. There is another wipe recipe that we use for children, but the amount that I use in here, for me, it's been okay. And I have real sensitive skin, so and I use it because it is able to keep my wipes from going bad. Now, these oils, the jojoba oil, the baby oil, and this pure Castile soap, and the vitamin E, does help. So I don't get any burn marks. I don't get any irritation when I use these wipes. And you don't need water, but you might need one to drink. So the next step of what I'm going to do. So those are the simple ingredients. Do you have baby oil in your house? Most people do. I don't have any kids in the house, but I always have baby oil on hand because sometimes you just need it. I always have witch hazel, hydrogen peroxide, and alcohol. So having hydrogen peroxide on hand is a no-brainer for me because when I see that my inventory is getting down, when I have 1 or 2 bottles left, I just kind of place an order or I go into town and I get some. Castile soap. This, by the way, you're not going to use very much. I use this for hand washing sometimes. Sometimes I use other stuff. But this here, you only need a little bit. And then the essential oils, it's your choice. If it was my husband, I'd probably be using other essential oils. But the 2 here, frankincense and, let's see, ylang, we both enjoy. Now yesterday I made some deodorant. I don't know if that was up your alley or not, and I will put a link in as to that video. But in that I used the same essential oils, and I just kind of like them. But I have used lavender. One thing that I recently learned is that lavender is not great for young boys or for men. And I don't think it matters for older men and stuff, more so if they're not. What it does is they say, don't quote me, they say it reduces the male hormones. That's all I'm saying. That's what I read. Is it true? I don't know. It was on herbal and holistic medicine, a few different sites. So do some research and decide. So I no longer on body products do I put lavender in. Do we like lavender? Absolutely. Even my husband likes it. Right now he has something burning that has lavender in it because he enjoys it and it is calming. But on our bodies, we want to make sure what's going into our bodies is, is appropriate for us. Can I use lavender on me? Yeah. But for things that I'm making for both of us, although the deodorant, I make him his own. But for myself, I didn't want the lavender in it. And I am just babbling away. Let's get to the product. All right. So what I do, these items come 10 by 13. So they're really large. And this is just half of it. What I do is I take these and I cut them. And I'm going to show you how I do it. But the first thing is, I told you I needed alcohol. The reason is I need to clean my surface. And I need to clean my rotary cutter. And I need to do that because this rotary cutter has been used on cloth. It's been used a variety of reasons, and we changed the cutting piece out, but still it can be used on paper, and then it just sits in the drawer or it sits somewhere, so it's collecting dust. That means there's germs everywhere. You can't get rid of all of them. But for when I'm doing something like this, I want it clean. So what I do is I get a rag or a clean washcloth, and we do buy, sometimes I make my own rags, and then sometimes I just buy cheap washcloths. They have to be pretty though. So what I do, and I know sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want to use it, but that's the purpose of them. So I just kind of set my mind. Those are pretty rags, Laura. So you want to soak it up a bit. And I'm going to show you what I'm doing. Get your rag soaked with alcohol. And don't be stingy with it. So I'm going to show you what I'm using for a cutting board today. I have this cutting board that I use for small projects. So I am going to just get this nice and clean, because where I store it, it might get stuck behind a door. It might sit down on the table and then somebody puts other stuff on it. So this is my preference, and I really don't like the smell of alcohol, but I'm dealing with it. So get it as clean as you possibly can. And then what you want to do is pour a little bit of alcohol on your knife, your rotary cutter. Now, can you use scissors? Yes, you can. Same thing. Make sure that these are nice and clean. Now this is on the inside. Open it up. Make sure the other side is getting done. And how you can do that, and look at inside, it can get dirty. That's where some fabric got in there. Because I use these rotary cutters mostly for fabric. So you get in there and you don't even realize that there's like dust from the fabric. So get it nice and clean. And you can see like some of this was some fabric that was in there. Get it nice and clean. Remember, these items are going on your body for cleaning. So get this as clean as possible. And now your tools are ready. And there's one other tool I use, and it's a ruler that I put on the edge of these wipes. I tend to wash my rulers up after, but not always. And because I don't know if that happened on this, I'm still going to take care of it. So the tools are now clean. The next thing that I'm going to do is these all have one fold on one side and they have a fold on the other one. And I was going to just do one edge because it just makes it easier if I just do one. But sometimes you only need one. Sometimes you only need one little piece because you don't always use it for what you think we're going to be using it for, which is what we use it for mostly. But if you need more than one, then you grab a couple. So we're going to cut it down so it's one layer. And how I do it is I cut on the fold piece, and they're not going to be perfect sizes, guys. So what I do is I just cut, pull that out of the way, and it looks like I need a new blade. Get that off, and then there is some more on this side. And if be sure that you have washed your hands before you start this. And then we start putting them in here. It will not hurt to wipe your container down at least once. And even though you had these nice clean wipes in here before, you might not want to, but I'll tell you why. Sometimes things can get built up and you have dust in your bathroom or wherever you're storing these. So you want to actually wipe these down. And it looks like I'm going to have to buy new ones. I've had these for a number of years, and eventually those get broken down and stuff. So you just get your containers cleaned up. And the size that you want, okay, so these are 10 by 13. So you cut those numbers in half, 5 by 6, 5 by 7. And let's see what this measurement is. I've never really measured it. Yep, this is 8. 5.5 by 8. So you need a container that's that, and then, you know, whatever height you want for these. So once you finish cutting them, you put them in your container because they're already going to be down to the size that you need. Now, it's easier to do one at a time. So that's very tedious. Am I going to make you watch me do all of these? No, but I want you to realize that you can do one at a time and you can do a group. The one that I just did was 3. And I need to get a new blade, so that will be helpful. So basically you're cutting off the edge as little as you possibly can. Now, would it be easier with scissors if you don't have a yeah, don't go out and buy a new rotary cutter just because, but a lot of people now have them. If you can get rotary cutters at Walmart, at sewing centers, online, so they're easy to assess. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change my blade. I'm going to cut the rest of these, and then I will be back to show you. But again, you can get a cutter at Joann's, Hobby Lobby, any of the craft stores. You can get, and I'm not an affiliate to any of these places, folks, and on Amazon, wherever you want to shop to get your supplies. This is a cutting tool that scrapbookers use. It's a cutting tool for seamstresses. It's a cutting tool that you can use for a variety of things. So get a nice one, ergonomic, something that I'm over there doing it. If you can do this with it, it helps because then when you're done with it, it gets back and it's in a safe place where you won't get cut. Those are the things that I would consider looking for, is a cutter that has safety measures on it, for not only for you, but for any little people that are running around the house. You don't want them to get hurt. And just have a ruler. You don't have to use fancy quilt rulers. You get a ruler, whatever. You can get the plastic rulers that you can get for kids and stuff, you know, for school. But you do want a cutting board specific for using rotary cutters. Why? Because These are designed so that they don't go into your counters and your other sources. So consider that if you can. If you don't have those, grab a pair of scissors that are not used for fabric, not used for, well, you can use it for paper and everything too, but make sure you wipe them down as well to make sure they're nice and clean, because otherwise, just make small batches, I guess. But I would recommend just making sure your scissors are nice and clean. So those are the options. And like I said, I will finish cutting the rest of these wipes. I've got 2 packages. And I don't think, as you can see, one package looks like it's too much. But once you put the liquid in, it actually shrinks it down. So I'll probably end up using like 1.5 package. And that will be, each of these is 100 pieces. So it'll be about 150, 75 in each. I will be back after I've got these all cut. Hey friends, I'm back. I'm still cutting up a few wipes, so I'm going to just finish this up. And another thing to keep in mind, I thought about this after I was babbling there. It's really good to change your rotary blade before you start this. And because as you saw when I first started, I was having difficulty. I want to show you, and I just take 2 batches, so it's like 8 layers. Okay, it's like 8 layers of these wipes, and it goes through, it glides through really, really nice. So let me change the camera here so that you can see that with the new blade, it just goes through so much easier without much problem and without any extra things kind of fraying along. So I had to have my husband come in because I was having a hard time doing that. I had a hard time getting the cutter off. So I had him come in and help me. Kind of a nice thing about having a holiday is he's around, so he can help me with that. So what I'm doing is I'm continually adding a few more items. One thing that we're going to be needing, and you can start once you're almost at the point where you have all the wipes that you want, is you want to start boiling up some water, because the liquid that this mostly uses is water. Does it need to be filtered? No. You can use your tap water unless you're uncomfortable with it. You can use distilled. I wouldn't use distilled water, but if you're not going to use your city water, consider doing some filter water. My city water isn't all that bad, but because I am boiling it, which is one way to use it, that's why I'm using that. And I don't know if any of that made sense, because sometimes when I talk, I don't always, when I'm working and talking, I don't always make things clear. So one more, I think, a couple more sets of these while the water's, and I don't have to put so much energy into it when the blade is nice and sharp. So when you change out your rotary blade, make sure you put your blade in a sharps container, and that would be a small plastic. I don't have any large, like say my husband took it and put it in the jar that we have. A jar about this size you can put your rotary blades in. I use medicine bottles for my needles and stuff from the sewing machine and from hand sewing. So whatever you do, make sure you have a place for those sharps, because first of all, you do not want people to get cut. I keep mine until I fill up the bottles, or when I decide to do a big clean in the sewing area. This has 3 sets. Let's see if I can do that. I find that 4 is too much. Okay, so that was 3. Now some of you may be asking, well, how much do you take off? I don't measure. I just take the edge off to get the fold off. That's all I'm doing. And you don't have to do this if you are fine with the large wipes. And I just press them down to see how I'm doing. So it's not really 1.5 packages. And then I put it right back in. The container to keep them clean. You can use these. These are kind of nice, because if you have a wound and you don't have clean rags, those are kind of handy to have in your go-to bag, your first aid box. whatever you choose to do. So we're going to push the cutting board off to the side. I'm going to get rid of all this excess. Can you use this for anything? I don't know. Compost? I just get rid of it because I don't want to keep extra stuff off. And I am a very creative person trying to find use for a lot of things. Okay, so these, I no longer need these tools. Oh, and another place that you can save your rotary blades. This is still a new blade. You can use old containers that come in and just put on it old blade so that you don't reuse it, or put sharps on it so they know that not to use it. All right, so my water is warming up. My wipes are in their container. And what I want to do is I'm going to put a cover on one because the recipe is on the back. And you see how that pressed right down? I know that I have plenty. So on the back, and I have it on both containers, is my recipe. So once the water is all boiled, I will start making it. Now this here has it so that I make half the amount in the container. So I will be doubling up this recipe, and I'm going to give you the basic recipe or instructions. I mean, you're not going to consume this. I suppose it's not a recipe. I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to give you the basic ingredients listing. And as I mentioned before, there are some things that I'm going to add in. So the basic one is 1 cup. For this 2-inch container, I'm doing 2 cups of boiling water. And it says you can warm it up half a minute in the microwave. I don't use my microwave. I just keep that note there so that if anybody else is in my house and likes these, I can just turn this over and say, just take the recipe. So I'm going to be doubling 1 tablespoon of liquid castile soap, 1 tablespoon of olive oil or baby oil, 2 drops of tea tree oil. All of these things are going to get doubled. 5 drops of lavender essential oil. As I mentioned, I'm not using lavender. I'm using frankincense and Ylang. I have a fondness for Ylang. So each container, it says 5, and I'm doubling, so I'll be putting 5 drops of each of those. 2 tablespoons doubled of the witch hazel. And then you have all these cleansing wipes. And even though this says 250, if you think about it, it's 75, 150, there's like 100, there's about 300 in here. So I double it up to make sure they stay moist. The thing that I found when I did this at this exact measurement for this container was that they didn't get wet or stay wet, and they got really dry. So I just double it, and it just stays really nice. I have no complaints from anybody who uses it, and I'm happy with them too. And this just saves on other things. Do not flush these unless you have some that are flushable. These are not flushable. And another thing is, what if you can't access these? Well, the only thing that I can suggest is if you have rags, and there are some like bread bag type, I don't have any here, but there's some cotton. I'm trying to think if I do have some. I just threw them out. Here, hold on. Now, if you don't have these cloths, or you don't have access to them, if you are one that is washing your own family cloths, which is a replacement for toilet paper, or family cloths for facial tissue, I use this for facial tissue. This is a nice cotton. It's like a gauze type material, but a little bit thicker, and you can get this in a variety of areas. I use white because it just makes me feel better. I'm not using this for these wipes, partly because I never have, and I just started making these because of the chaos that happened in our world. These are emergency backups, but we are starting to use cloth facial tissues, which is what these were designed for, and these sit in our bathroom and on a shelf, and we can grab them as we go. These go into a container with a flip lid, and there's a cloth bag in there, so I can just take these and I can go and throw them in the wash. Now, if you're using family cloths, which we are not using yet, I'm trying to introduce my husband to it, and I've just been so busy I haven't gotten that far yet. But at least we got the facial tissue thing. I want to get my words right here. So if you don't have these wipes and you can't get these cleansing cloths, you can order them. But if you can't afford to, you might be able to get some of these cotton things and it'll work. But you're going to have to wash them. You can't flush those. You can't flush these. But it would be cost inhibitive if you threw these out. So you have to be afraid of not washing family type cloths. Those of you, and I did this when my kids were babies, is I used cloth diapers. The concept is the same. What do you think happened years ago before we got toilet paper and wipes? Wipes are a new thing, actually. Well, they came about when I had kids, but still, it's still a new concept. I like making my own with the disposable throwaway wipes that are available. They're very, very soft. They really are. To me, it is worth the price. Plus, I don't have to wash so much. But you can use fabric like this. So if you do not want to purchase that, make sure you have plenty of this thicker gauze type material on hand, which is 100% cotton, and you can use that as well. And I think if I can't get those anymore, because I bought them in bulk, and before I came on to share this video, Medline has them produced over in China. And there's a lot of stuff going on in this world, and even though I have a bulk amount, I might not be able to get them again. So, and it took me a while to find these last year. So I'm just saying, you may have to look at other options. We may end up having to wash these wipes as well, or buy the store ones, whatever you want. But for me, I'm going to first use what I can get for disposables, and then if I can't, I will use gauze. And I am not afraid of washing stuff. Even if you are company in my house and this is what you end up using, you know what? I would rather wash these things than to have people uncomfortable, because sometimes a nice moist wipe is very helpful. And that's as far as I'm going to put it. Hold on a second. Let me put this out of the way. All right, my water is hot. Let's get back to the directions here. So 1 cup doubled is 2 cups water. I know I can kind of go on to a babble. Now this is pretty hot. I'm not worried about it because I use it pretty hot. It didn't go up. I think it's boiling. All right, so the first thing is 1 tablespoon of cast iron soap with doubled is 2 tablespoons. Where is it? And this is just for one of the boxes, so I'll be doing this again for the other box. This here is a 2 tablespoon measure, so you'll see me just putting 1 in. So 2 tablespoons there. 2 tablespoons of olive oil or baby oil. I'm using baby oil. All right, and then I'm not going to do the tea tree yet. And then it is 2 tablespoons of witch hazel. So I'm going to use 2 of these. Witch hazel, where are you? So 4 tablespoons for me. And my 2 cup measure is getting full. So now it says to use 2 drops of tea tree oil. So we're going to do 4 drops of tea tree oil. Again, the reason I am putting tea tree in this with all the oils and stuff, it will be fine for my skin sensitivity. But use your own judgment. So 2, we're going to do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do 5 drops of Ylang Ylang, or you can use lavender. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you do an extra drop, it'll be fine. 5 drops of frankincense. Got an extra one of frankincense. All right, now I mentioned that I was going to use 2 other items. I am just going to put in, let's see, I'm going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of jojoba oil, or for if you're reading it, jojoba. This is not on my list of ingredients. And I'm going to do 1/4 teaspoon, let's see, of the vitamin E. Now remember, if you're using what I'm putting in, cut everything in half. Stir it in really good. You can't, all right, you can see me stirring it, but so now what I'm going to do is I am going to, so that it gets through really well, I lift up underneath and start putting it in. Yes, you're going to get some on your counter. And just start covering your cloths. Okay, press down. And you will see that 2 cups was perfect for this. And even though I had a few drop over, it's warm. But now what I'm going to do is I am going to put the cover over this. And if you want, you can take some and put them in between because you didn't get the top one as moist. You can do stuff like that. And then what you do is you put the cover on. And it'll cool, folks, so don't worry about that. The nice pressure keeps them nice and compact. Before you are ready to use them, I highly recommend that you let them cool. But even you can use them when they're warm. But I used hot water. It wasn't to the rolling boil, but it was boiling water. So, but I like doing this. These things are phenomenal. My husband uses them all the time. He no longer harasses me and tells me, Laura, we'll run it out. But I know when they're running out, and they've been out for a couple of days. So these are here. And when you're using regular toilet paper, these make it a lot easier, and you end up using less toilet paper. So it is an economical option, whether you're using these or the over-the-counter wipes that you might purchase. I find that these are economical to make, and I realize I don't remember what the price was on these. It wasn't that bad, and I buy them in a case lot of 1,000. So these I might make every 2 months, and I'm using 150. No, wait, they come in packages of 100, so 150. It takes me 2 years to go through that case of 1,000. So if you think about that, and I think they were around $40, $50, I could be wrong, but I do know that if I go on to see if I can buy them, I know that they're more expensive now. So to me, it's worth it. The ingredients are minute. So keep that in mind. First of all, it's economical. You're going to use less toilet paper. Even if you're using family cloths, you're going to use less. And these items, since they already have the Castile soap in it, they will actually clean up really nice in the laundry if you are using family cloths to do this as well. And these are the ones I'm using for facial wipes, but you can cut these down to fit these as well. I'm just sharing some options because people are concerned about money. We're concerned about money, but I'm not quite yet ready to use the wipes that I have to wash. But would I might consider that if I can't get these cloths because I don't want any latex in it. I don't want any chemicals that are put into these. And now I'm very cautious about a lot of stuff. So use what you can, look for them. Somebody might ask, well, can you use paper towels? I tried making regular wipes for cleaning wipes with paper towels. Nah, don't do it. They fall apart. And I use expensive Bounty wipes and stuff. They fall apart. They don't do very well. I tried making those wipes that pull out, like those Lysol wipes that you can pull out of a tube box. Nope, didn't work. It just tore apart, and my husband came in. This is not working. So we don't do that. So I really do hope that this has been helpful. I know it's been kind of skitterish, but please forgive me on that. But now we've got our wipes, and my husband won't be complaining. Actually, he has not complained. But we like having these, and we do label our box. We label them natural cleansing wipes, and this faces forward. So if there's somebody in our home that is visiting, they'll at least know what they're used for, and they don't have to question if they can use them. They're there. And I probably should put a note, don't flush. So that's that. I hope that you have some, this works for you. Again, lavender is fine to use. I just am choosing to use others. The vitamin E and the jojoba oil are just additives that I do for skin sensitive, for softness and all that. Those are my choices, but you don't have to. I've made these for years without those. They're just added things that I've added over the last few months. So how long will these last might be another question. How many people are using your bathroom? And as long as you're eating healthy, when the things come out that you want to clean up, you're not going to use very many, because a healthy diet doesn't cause those type problems. But we like to make sure things are as clean as possible, and that's what we do. Have a great day, Happy New Year, and may God bless you.